Well, hello and welcome along to another We Happy Few 506 podcast, The Nearly Men, with me, Matt Leach, my gorgeous co host, Doug Allen. How are you, Dougie?
Very well, thank you, Matt.
Good. I'm trying to do this all in one breath. I've got very good breath control. Um, Today, we have a fantastic guest on, all the way from Savannah, Georgia, as I've just learned here. He's the star of some incredibly cool movies. He's a star, Memphis Belle, Children of the Corn, The Burbs with our own Tom Hanks, and Back to the Future, which we will be digging deep into because I'm a huge fan. He's got incredibly wide ranging TV credits. I actually only had 20 minutes to research him, and his credits are about 40 minutes long. So I'll just name a few 21 Jump Street, Southlands with our own Michael Cudlitz, and Seinfeld as well, which I will talk a little bit about because me and Larry David have a complicated relationship. Anyway, he's also a musician of some considerable note. We'd like to welcome to the pod the one, the only, the incredible, the beautifully bearded Courtney Gains. How you doing, mate? Don't ask me to do that again. That was a long, that was a
Yeah,
long,
yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was excellent, man. No, I'm good. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
brilliant, brilliant. Right, first question I've got for you. Uh, and I'm not going with the optics in the background. This is not what's making me ask this question. Are you a musician that acts, or are you an actor that plays music?
I'd say I'm an actor who plays music because I've made my living as an actor. I haven't made my living, quote unquote, as a musician. So, but I started taking acting lessons, guitar lessons around the same time, about 13 years old. But I knew even then that that I wasn't aiming for my profession to be an actor. So I approached it far differently. I took a lot of classes, learned all the methods. After I took guitar lessons for a while. Once I learned how to play decently, from there I taught myself, learn how to play up the neck and all that. I didn't want to know too much because I figured if I knew too much, every time I tried to write a song, which is what I was interested in, I would think, oh, this sounds like this or this sounds like that. And now I thought that would really kill me creatively, which now that I'm in a band and called the Courtney Gains Group in Savannah, where we do play clubs and do 3 sets a night and have to do 70% covers, it's already starting to happen. So my theory was correct.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the podcast of very long introductions and very long answers. That's very good and very concise as
Oh,
well.
man, busted my
Really
chops
good.
already. All right, you're good.
Really
Yes to no
good.
answer from here. There you
No,
go.
it was very good. I'm interested to know what that little guitar is in the background.
That's a mandolin, right?
Right.
Oh,
Not that
yeah.
I play it.
You
I
just
was
want to be
given
like
it.
Puss
I
in
have yet
Boots.
to. I don't even know how to tune it yet. But hey, I did a movie called Wrath of Becky that came out this year. That
Uh-huh.
they asked me to play banjo, and I didn't know how. And I said, "Give it to me. I'll see if I can figure it out." Think the song came out pretty good.
That's
Um,
fantastic. What's the movie called?
The Wrath of Becky. It was the sequel to a movie that came out in 2020 called Becky. That was a drive-in hit during the pandemic, and this one did very well, and they're already talking about doing a third, doing a trilogy now.
Is it a
And I
horror movie? Is it a horror movie?
Is it? I wouldn't quite call it horror, but it's like slasher
Right.
action. It's
Because
about
this,
this. It's
yeah.
about this girl who she runs first. Her first run-ins with this with skinheads that killed her parents, and then she finds out she's a natural born killer and wipes them all out. And this one is a bunch of like Proud Boys, which basically I knew if I grew this beard,
Uh-huh.
one of those southern kind of jobs would come, and I was correct.
Sweet. So you're like a proud boy?
Oh yeah, very. Well, we're called the Noblemen, so it's like a takeoff on the Proud Boys,
Right.
and
Because I
and the
used to be in a
song's pretty outrageous.
I used to be in a group of male strippers called the Proud Boys as well, just so you know.
Oh, good connection there.
And
It's called
so
the
Really,
Shrimp
Matt? Is
Boys.
this
That's what it was
true?
called.
you know the fact that it sounds true, doesn't it? It sounds true and it looks true. I look like a sort of retired, permanently hungover male stripper, don't I?
So
Um,
before Matt comes into because you've had a really long career, you've got tons of credits on your IMDb, and Matt's going to obviously pick out some highlights. But you mentioned there briefly that so you started guitar lessons and acting lessons at roughly the same age. So what made you want to become an artist or a performer specifically? Have you got, what was your kind of family situation like growing up? You got siblings and stuff. What kind of got you into it?
Yeah, so I think it was in my blood, and the reason I say that is because my grandfather on my father's side, who I never met, but I remember when I was like maybe 7, 8 years old, my grandmother, who never talked about him, went, "Oh, there's your grandfather on TV, and he was in a Shirley Temple movie." I don't remember the movie, but I remember the scene. He was in a wheelchair. He was like a Civil War guy, and she was talking to him. It was like toward the end of the movie, and I was like, "What?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, he was a dancer and a piano player and an actor." And I was like, "What?" And then my mother was a dancer and like did like USO performances back, and like she went to like a fame school like in Los Angeles, and they would fly out to the various bases and entertain troops and all of that. She did chorus lines in movies, and then gave that up for her first marriage and her first kid. So it was in the blood, I think. And then I was in this after school program where all the roughneck kids were that were all in the broken homes, where the parents both had jobs or whatever. And we had this lady named Miss Gardner, and she got us to do theater. She got it. She got the toughest guy in school to play the lead in a play where we all were in drag, and this was in the 1970s. Okay, and I don't know how she pulled that off, but that was like once he did it, we were all in. It was like, you're gonna talk, you're gonna make fun of us. I'm gonna go tell Frankie, he'll kick your ass, right? So, but I did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first play, and I did the Prince, and I came out. And everything, kissed her, and everything was happy, and the crowd applauded. I was hooked. I was hooked right then and there. That's what I knew, that was my calling, as it were, and that's what I was going to do. I can't explain it. I just knew.
That's a good story.
Did you have the backing of your parents? I guess they couldn't really say anything if it was in your blood.
Yeah. I mean, no, but yes, I did. They definitely believe, they definitely said, they never said I couldn't do it. Right. And, I kept egging my mom on from the time I was really young to get me in an acting class. And she kept kind of dragging her feet. And finally, she put me in this class, and it was not like what I was really looking for. It was because it was like old school, which is what she knew. It was like tap dancing and people in tights and stuff. And I was like a kid from the hood, you know what I mean? Like I was putting up with it, trying to see if I could get anything out of it, but I was not loving it, and I was not clicking with the people in the class. Too theatery type for me, And then I was maybe in the third, fourth class, was about to quit, and this guy stopped us on the street, and his name's Virgil Fry. He was an actor, did a number of things, but more famously, his daughter is Soleil Moonfry Punky Brewster. And his son also worked, and his stepson Mino Plus also worked. So so he stopped my mom. He said, "I think this kid's got a great look, blah blah blah."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Well, I'll try the class because I don't like this other class." And this guy's class was like method acting, and he was like teaching the real stuff even to kids. And I remember like the second or third class, he put this improv together where I had just been told I got an acting part, and I didn't know anything about thinking about the setup or anything, right? So I'm just all excited I got a job. And my parents come in and they say no. And I snapped. I threw a chair across the room. I started breaking out crying. Before I knew it, I did what I thought was the impossible, to be able to cry in a scene. I thought, my God, this guy's a genius. And I studied with him for almost 20 years, and he was my manager for a number of years, and I gave him all the credit in the world for breaking me into the business.
Wow. So this isn't exclusively a Band of Brothers podcast, but we always.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about all that.
Yeah, we said. What's that show called? The
no offense, but I've been doing a lot of shows. I forgot. I just knew it was in the UK, and that we're doing it at 3. That's about what I remember.
My point being, we got to talk. We need to talk about Memphis Belle.
Yes, let's get some Memphis Belle in there.
I'm going to go round in circles on a lot of your stuff.
No problem. Like, I'm glad something told me to have the poster back. I mean, the
I can just about see
back it there. I don't know why I did, but there it is. So there you go. Whoo, look at that. Woo.
Yeah, it's producer Leighton's pretty much his favorite film, so we got to talk about it.
All right.
Talk us through. This is a bit of a lame question to start out, but talk us through how you got involved in that. Talk us through the casting of that for you, because obviously you've done a bunch of stuff beforehand, and it's a great cast.
Yes. So I was on a pretty good run in the 80s. That was sort of what back then the idea was to be 18 and look younger, right? Like as teen cinema was blowing up, that was the thing. So I had 5 years of training under my belt, and everybody kept saying, when you turn 18, you're going to blow up because you look 15 and you do good work. And that's exactly what happened. I went on this like 5-6 year run. So I had built a pretty good resume by this point. And yeah, this was, the movie to get that year for a teen actor. Like everybody wanted in, like everybody, all the biggest names, everybody wanted in, but they weren't going to pay for everybody. So they sort of had an A tier, B tier, C tier of casting financially as an ensemble. So what I figured out on my end was that's what it was about, was they were looking for an ensemble, So that was my angle when I came in, and I read. My reading was okay, But I said to the director, I said, ensemble acting is my forte. This is exactly what I said. I'm in one of the best theater ensemble groups in Los Angeles, which was this group called Friends and Artists Theater Ensemble that was all about ensemble and was like winning lots of back then called Dramalog Awards. And he was it stuck with him. He said, "Oh, that was really refreshing." He says, in New York, they want to know about what the story is. In LA, they just want to know about their part. And so like I sort of gave him something different. And then a little bit of fortunate luck happened. Patrick Dempsey was also auditioning, and they looked at his tape, and on his tape was my Can't Buy Me Love scene, where I jack him up against the wall saying "you shit on my house." And that's a very strong scene. I think between the ensemble thing and that scene, because he told me about it later, he's like, you were great in that scene. I think those two things were the tipping point and got me the job.
Because every actor of that age must have been, I mean, actors that we know as stars now must have all gone up for that movie.
Even every big actor that was a star already wanted that job. It was the job to get that year. It was, and everybody thought it was going to be a huge film, and it obviously it's done well, but the timing was terrible. The Iraqi war broke out right as the film release happened. So who wanted to go see a war movie? If they'd known that first Iraq war was going to last, 2 weeks, but everybody thought it was, going to be like this long thing. And so just the timing of the release of the film was terrible.
Yeah, we had something similar with September the 11th and Band of Brothers.
We did.
Yeah. Episode 1 came out September 9th, 2001.
Well, now I know why you were talking about Tom Hanks and Cutlets. I'm like, why is he talking about those guys?
Just shamelessly name dropping.
Band of Brothers. I knew Cutlets before he ever broke. He used to study in a class up. I think was the Oregon class I helped train people in. I think so. I think it was a class up in Oregon. He's gone on to have a wonderful TV career.
Yeah. He's a great guy as well.
But Band of Brothers was the big break. That was the thing that changed everything. I auditioned for Band of Brothers. I remember going in, and Tom Hanks had this giant beard on, even bigger than me. I think, what the hell is he doing? And of course, it was the movie
Proud Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going for Proud Boy, exactly. No, what's the one where he gets stranded on the island? Thank you, Castaways. And here's the coolest thing I want to say, because obviously I worked with Tom Hanks once before in the Burbs, and he's the most down to earth A-list actor you're ever going to meet. That's absolutely true. But in that audition for Band of Brothers, he actually read with us. He read with me. I'd never seen an actor that big want to read with other actors, and it was great because it brought out the best in me. I was reading. I mean, am I going to suck? I'm reading with Tom Hanks. I'm going to bring my game up. Plus, he's giving me good stuff. So you're going to get the best read. But I just couldn't believe he did that. He's the only actor I've ever seen of that stature in a room in a casting situation who got up and read with all the actors. I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah, he always just wants to muck in, doesn't he? Like when we were filming, he was always like, "Yeah, I'll read that bit. I'll do that bit. I'll play that bit. I'll be in the background with like a berry on, just messing around." It's like,
well, there you go then. See? But yeah, no, he's just super down to earth.
How much fun was it to film Memphis Belle? It looked like a great fun film.
Where did you film it?
We filmed it. We filmed in a town called Lancashire, I think.
Oh, Lancaster.
It was a town. Is that right? That's where there's an old RAF base. Lancashire, something like that. It was a small town, small cobblestone street place. And then we shot the interiors off Pinewood Studios.
Okay.
Which was great. Pinewood's the best studio I've personally ever been at. Like the American Studios, the commissary is even though you've seen it in tons of movies from the 40s and 50s, commissaries they're not great. It's almost like cafeteria food. The Pinewood, it's like every day is like a wonderful brunch, where you could choose a roast beef or a ham, and it's like, and you sit there, and it's beautiful windows looking out on these grounds. That place was the best.
Yeah,
all the actors have said we've all been trying to have another one of those in our career, because that movie kind of set the standard for all of us.
So was it loads of fun? Was it kind of competitive? What was it like to film?
Well, so the first thing was really we did a boot camp, and that was we did it. Yeah, we did and it had a lot of strange. So we were trained. We were trained by these guys that were SAS dudes. Matter of fact, the guys that, I don't know if you remember back in the 80s when like an Iraqi embassy was taken over,
Iranian, yeah.
the dudes who parachuted on and jumped in, cracked it through the windows, those 4 of those guys were the 8 guys who did that. So these were some badass dudes.
Was it the guy with the curly mustache, droopy curly mustache? I forget his name.
No.
Okay.
But these guys were serious business. I mean, they had been serious business. XAS guys fought in the Falkland War, blah, blah, blah. So they would do these, they had been doing these camps where they would train like dudes for IBM or whatever, right? And bonding things, whatever. So they already had this kind of thing going. So they took us to this old, like I don't want to say a castle, but close to it, like abandoned. We had a moat, all this stuff. And we were there for like 10 days. And it was like the 10 longest days of my life. And one day was 3 a.m. to 3 a.m. It was the single longest day of my life. We were just having tasks to do, one after another, impossible tasks, having to get done in a certain amount of time, teamwork, blah, 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 blah. And I kept saying, like, is this the same day? I mean, really, I said that 2 or 3 times. Like, is this the same day? It was like just to break us down, you know? And it didn't take long. Sleep deprivation and calisthenics, 2-3 days in, you're pretty much a broken down person, you know? But what was interesting is by putting all that pressure on us, you started to see everybody's like thing. Like everybody's stuff started coming out. Whether like a Sean Astin, like he is freaking Rudy, man. He doesn't quit. You know what I mean? Like that's his essence, which is why he's great in that film. But other people, like people found ways to like get hurt enough that they could talk themselves out of having to do things. I'm not going to say who. But I will say this, like DB Sweeney was like considered himself kind of a jock, you know, and the moat was shallow and they said, do not dive into the moat. Well, DB, of course, not listening, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever, dove in the moat, hit his head on a pile of rocks, came up with a knot on his head this big. He wanted to go to the hospital and the lead dude wouldn't let him. And he called and the production and they said, this is a true story. They said, if you leave to go to the hospital, you're off this flick. Because the other guy, the guy running the thing, really minimized how bad the injury was because he knew he had 5-6 days till production saw him and it had gone down. But that caused like a whole bunch of stuff, like you know, talk of like mutiny, talk of like taking off, like all kinds of stuff. My moment was this, and according to Modine, this was when he said things like clicked in and got like people started getting real. So we'd gotten in some trouble, so we were getting like punished where we had our backpacks on and I had my feet. Like we had to have our feet up, you know, like we're, you know, pain stuff, right? But the backpack was digging, it was metal, and it was digging into the lower part of my back. And I told the dude, I said, I gotta take off my backpack. And he said, no. And I said, I gotta take off the backpack. He said, no. I said, if you don't let me take off this backpack, I'm gonna get up and we're gonna go right fucking now. Do you understand me? And this dude would have whooped my ass. You understand me? XAS. He would have kicked the shit out of me with no problem. But at that moment, I could have gave 2 shits and I was ready to go. And he saw it. He said, okay, take your backpack off. Thank God. He didn't say, well, come on up, son. Let's see what you got. You know?
Do you know what's funny?
I would have got my ass whipped, but I'm telling you what, I would have gone down swinging because at that point, it was so much acute pain, I could give a shit. I was ready to, but at that moment when I did that, I guess was the first person to really show their true colors, you know, their real stuff underneath.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We've spoken about our boot camp experience a lot, and anybody that comes in on a military movie that's done it, we're always comparing the boot camps and the essence of what they're trying to do. They're exactly the same as ours. Break you down, build up, but make you rely on each other. So, but what I want to know is that because, like with us, we had to do lots of technical stuff, like, you know, how to attack certain things, so that when we're in a scene, we're all going to know where we're doing, where we're going to run, where we're going to go to, what we're going to do, because we've been trained to do it. We won't have to have the director tell us, oh, you stand here, there, and anywhere. But in your thing, obviously, you're in an aircraft. I mean, right. So did you have any weapons training or anything?
We had some weapons training,
the weapons that were in there. Were they brought up? And did you know
we had some weapons training, but not as much, like you said, not as much detail as you guys need to do because you need to charge and all of those things. We had experts from all kinds of fields come during those 10 days. Guys who could tell you how to survive in the desert with a spoon. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, we had like expert upon experts. We were getting all this information, much of it we wouldn't be able to use. But at the end of it, we did go shoot guns, and I got to shoot a 50 caliber machine gun. It was mounted, thank God. Because I'm not Rambo, but that is something, bro. Shooting a 50 caliber.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some handguns and stuff too, but 50 cals.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something. And my gun, if you watch the movie, you'll always see me doing this. Because my gun jammed all the fucking time. It seemed like the whole movie my gun was jamming. Now my other partner Neil Gentoli, he was deep into the shit. Okay, like he was, he's like, I'm a Jeffersonian libertarian when people weren't even talking about that right wing shit. He would actually at the end of the day clean his own gun every day. Like his own 50 cal every day. He'd stay after work like an hour or two, and his gun worked like butter, man. His gun was great.
What are we learning here, Courtney?
Yeah, what are we learning? Yeah.
But I was not gonna stay another 2 hours and clean my gun. Sorry, I'm not that hardcore.
I'll tell you, Courtney. What's funny is that we had DB Sweeney on this podcast. And
I bet you he never told that story.
Raconteur that he is, he never told that story of him diving into the moat and smashing his head open.
Yeah, I'm real surprised.
He did tell one story that was it was hilarious. He told it really, really well as well, which was it. It was to do with Billy Zane and then being being in a Jeep, and this shot where the Jeep goes across the runway.
Yeah,
and Billy Zane's talking out the side of his mouth, going, "Is my hairpiece coming off? Is my hairpiece?"
I don't remember that, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, that's hilarious.
He
that
told
was
it
before
so
I ever even think about hairpieces and things like that.
Yeah. He's like, Billy Zane, cool guy, really good looking guy. Where's a hairpiece? And it goes this whole thing. It was really, really good. Really, really good.
Yeah. So the personalities, really, it was very interesting. But by the time we were done with all that, we went to filming because of it being, an airplane. We didn't see a lot of each other after. I mean, unless we intended to, because, like Harry Connick, he was like in the, tail gun by himself. Like that was how, that's how his, and while he was waiting, he was like one of the last to shoot is when Harry McSally broke. And all of a sudden he was like known. And all of a sudden he's like, I got to get out of here. I got to shoot this, get my stuff done. And he was scheduled for the end. Literally as soon as he was done, he was back home and on a world tour that took at least a year. I mean, he just blew up as a jazz musician after that. Yeah, that was crazy.
Huge.
Did you create, because a lot of what we mention especially on Band of Brothers, is that the bond that we all still have, because mainly that it comes, obviously we were filming together for like 9 months or 10 months or something like that.
Yeah, that's a long
It was
time.
really,
Wow.
it was really boot camp that kind of established that. So do you still know any of the other cast? Do you still
the
have
only person that I really got at all close to at the time was Sean Astin. And the reason that was because there was sort of tiers of relationships, right? There was like the older, like, Modine was married, Billy Zane was like engaged. So they were like, they were doing their thing. Then there was a bunch of guys who were single. So they were doing their thing. And then there was me and Sean waiting for our girlfriends to come over, just dying, right? So we kind of bonded over waiting for our girlfriends to come over. And so when they came over, then we were all kind of a unit. And he's just a nice, he was a young kid at that point, but he's a super nice guy. Still is a super nice guy, but we're not like close. But that would be the only person I've really kept in touch with. I mean, I've bumped into Billy Zane many times on gigs. Sometimes we've been in the same movies, but not, together, all like that. But I'd say out of all of them, Sean's my guy.
Yeah, great to see him in Stranger Things. It was a really cool bit of casting there.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And we were what's the name of that movie? Charming the Hearts of Men, that was shot out in the South a couple years ago. We were in together. Again, we didn't have many scenes together. Or I don't know if we had any scenes together, but we were in this. It was good film about this white woman had this got some legislation put in for civil rights stuff with women and stuff that's based on a true story. And it was really good to get to see him again.
Cool. We'll dig deeper into the acting stuff in a second, but I'm just going to switch tack completely. And speaking to a man with lots of guitars and a mandolin behind his head
that he doesn't know how to play. Yeah,
that he doesn't know how to play.
There's some basses back there too.
But he got bass as well. That's cool. He had a pretty incredible music career as well.
It's just been a little bit at a time. It's kind of when you put it on paper now, it all looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Forget me if I'm wrong, because sometimes my research leads me down weird rabbit holes. Did you play on stage with Phish? Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
How did that come about? Because they are legends.
Yeah, it's not going to be another short answer, pal. You ready for this? Because it's going to take a bit. So,
Got all night, baby. Got all night.
so the long it's a long. So I was hitchhiking. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who's an actress who's known. She now is known for playing the voice of Rogue in the X-Men cartoons. Just had a big research because of the anniversary and they're doing a whole new thing. Lenore Zan was getting married in Canada, in Nova Scotia, which is like the nicest people in the world I've ever met. Ever in Nova Scotia. Really super nice. From there, I hitchhiked to Michigan to go see this girl. The second day, and end of the day, this guy picks me up. Turns out it's Mike Gordon, the bass player from Phish. And he finds me a place in Burlington, Vermont, where they live, the town they live in, where they're playing a steady gig at this still famous place there called Nectar's. Now, Burlington, Vermont is a college town that is known for the jam band thing. That's the thing. And we hit it off and had a really good talk and such. And he kept in touch. Next thing I know, he's coming to town and they're opening for Santana. And I'm at the Greek Theater watching them. Next thing I know, they're playing the Greek themselves. I just watched this. Next thing you know, they're on Rolling Stone. And this band just grew and grew and grew. Now, all along this way, there was this guy that was a big time prankster that was always pulling pranks on them. And they knew he was deathly afraid of my character in Malachi and Children of the Corn. So they were trying to come up with this idea for years, but it always was like too much. It was always like, I got to go all the way over here. I was like, no. Finally, they came up with something that made some sense. It was in Vegas, so it wasn't far. They could fly me in. And so they had this big party at a penthouse. They got this guy baked on shrooms. Took him out gambling. Everybody else but him knew the whole thing that was about to happen. By the time he comes back, it's dark. Children of the Corn's playing. There's just a few people. These girls go upstairs. They start singing the theme, keeping this whole thing going. Comes down. It's the four guys. They all peel off. Last guy's Trey. Trey's a redhead, right? The guitar player. I'm waiting in that master bedroom. I put on his jacket and I go sit down next to the guy. They're hoping for like a huge scream or something, right? They don't get that. But when I can see the guy, he is terrified. He thinks he's at this point having a bad acid trip, right? He gets up and he's like, hey. And he gets up, he walks out of the room really slow and goes to this bedroom. And they come out like, what happened? Was he scared? I said, dude, he was really scared. He was out of his mind. So when they went to go talk to him, he literally could not utter a syllable for 45 minutes. He was like, whoa! Right? So now they have succeeded. They are thrilled. I'm like in anything I want. So I'm like, well, let me come up and jam a song with you guys. So they're like, done. So Larry and Les from Primus ended up being there too. So that's another guitar, another bass. They don't need another guitar player, another bass player. So I just came in and did some percussion and was in front of 8,000 people in Vegas. And it was a rock star moment, man. But that's how it all happened.
Wow.
Bad ass.
That's a good story. So the moral of the story is hitchhike. That's where the most interesting things in life can happen. Hitchhiking is fun. No one does it anymore, do they? No. But in the 80s, back in the 80s, in the early 90s.
Why I did it when I did it. Can't Buy Me Love was about to come out. I figured that movie was going to do really well. It ended up being the number 3 movie of the summer. It was, so it was big. I thought this might be it. This might be my last chance to kind of get out there and do something crazy like that. And it was an amazing experience. And that was one of the highlights. Maybe actually, there were some others that I'm not going to get into all that, but one of the amazing highlights. It's a risk. I don't advise people do it. I was young, and it worked out. Thank God.
I mean, are you going to pick up the guy from Children of the Corn?
He didn't put 2 and 2 together at that point. Really, literally, some kid came up who's talking to me with an ice cream cone, and he thought the kid was with me, and he said, that's why I stopped. Had that kid not stopped and talked to me, who knows? I would have never gotten picked up.
That's amazing. Is Linda Hamilton in Children of the Corn?
Linda Hamilton, yep. Children of the Corn has a crazy history of women being in it. All the many sequels that have gone on to be big actresses. It's got this weird lineage, like their first film or second film, and then Eva Mendes, all kinds of people. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird facts.
She's badass, man. She's
awesome. Couldn't be the nicest. Yeah. She's just super, super nice. She's a really, really nice lady.
She strikes me as someone who could do push-ups with a crocodile on her back.
I don't know anymore, but maybe maybe when she
Back
got
in
ripped
then,
for a
she's
Terminator.
yeah, ripped,
Yeah,
absolutely
she was
ripped.
ripped.
Yeah,
Yeah. She brought that whole look in.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
she brought that whole women like kind of super fit kind of look in, like actual training fit, didn't she?
I
Really?
agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, so we got to talk about Back to the Future.
We're already there. We're at the Back to the Future theory. He told me he has this theory of
No, I'm
Back to
going
the
to do
Future.
that next. I'm going to
Oh,
do
you're gonna
that
do that
next.
next. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
we're on Back
Because
to the Future 1 right now. Then
I'm
okay.
on Back to the Future one right now. So back to. Did you do Back to the Future? You did Back to the Future before Memphis Belle.
Yes.
There's an elephant in the room with Back to the Future, isn't there? And are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about the Eric Stoltz stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll talk about whatever. Who could do anything to me? I mean,
Okay. So for those of you who are listening who don't know, a large section of Back to the Future was already shot with Eric Stoltz in the lead. And I think there are some sections of
Yeah,
it on YouTube.
you can see some footage of it on YouTube.
On
Yeah.
YouTube, yeah. And then so what happened?
well, I'm gonna have to preface this with I have a whole Eric Stoltz history, which is weird.
I was gonna say, yeah, yeah.
Well, no, it is. It's really weird. And finally, Memphis Belle was where I was able to tell him all about it. So I had a movie written for me, this little independent film you've never heard of, but still, it was written for me. It was like the lead called Lucky 13. And the guy who wrote it, Mark Griffith, and directed it. I was in this class that he co-taught with this guy named Gino Havens, who I ended up doing Hard Bodies for. I was supposed to do another Hard Bodies for him. I did another movie for him in the Philippines. Like this guy was like somebody who was like, really liked what I did and was always really supportive. I was underage. I'd had an ID that said I was older, but I did this commercial right before and they panicked and they last minute while I was off shooting this commercial in New York, they recast it with Eric Stoltz. So
No way.
yeah, and he had no idea, right? I came on set one day, but he didn't even know who I was, or he was just working. But it was crushing, And then Eric, he beat me out for Mask, which it was down to like it was redheads, it was only a handful of us, and that dude got it. That was a role I really wanted. So I was like building up this history with Eric Stoltz, Then I do Back to the Future. I didn't have any scenes with him yet, but I knew he was cast in it. And so I don't know what the rules are in the UK, but in America, you have this thing called a drop pickup. They can only, when you get cast and they're paying you by the day, they can only drop you once and then bring you back. Right. And so they have to pick if they want to do that. So they had already dropped me. And during that time I got dropped is when Stoltz got fired. So while they're panicking and regrouping everything, I was getting paid for like 5 weeks for a job that was like supposed to be like 3 days. And they freaked out. When my agency reached out to them once, they blew it off. So by the time they realized what happened, we negotiated something. But again, it was like I got paid way, way better than I ever would have gotten paid if it wasn't for Stoltz getting fired. So it's ended up being one of the
best things.
It's gone on to be one of the biggest trilogies in cinema history, and it's been one of the best residual incomes of my life. So it's like somehow so somehow thank you. For me it was a good thing. For Stoltz, we ended up talking about it a bit on Memphis Belle. When I finally got to it, I said, dude, we got to talk. I got to clear some shit with you before we work so I can just get this. I have this whole history you don't even know fucking exists. And he was just like, what the hell? Like, whoa. But he was just like, yeah, that getting fired from that gig was the hardest thing that ever happened to him as an actor. He said it was, really, it was tough. And I can understand.
What kind of happened to him? Because obviously he did Memphis Belle, he did really well, and he did what was that film that was produced by I can't remember now. He did a film where it's shot in Paris where he played like a bunch of bank robbers. Killing Zoe. That was in the 90s as well, wasn't it? Early mid. I don't know what year that probably. But what kind of happened to him? Because he didn't because he was really, really good in everything he did. But do you reckon that sort of stigma of getting fired from?
I think that was his fear. Now, I don't know if it stopped him. I don't know. But what happened in that particular movie, what they say the reason is that he was being very methody, which I'm a method guy. I don't got a problem with, but like to the point where he was like some people had to call him Marty and Marty had to be on his trailer and stuff like that. And then it just came down to the fact that they just didn't think he was funny. you know, because he's not. I mean, was he been known for? Has he done any? That's the thing that may have killed him comedy wise. He never did any comedy after that. They just didn't think he was funny, and so they decided to pull the plug and reboot. And you know, obviously Michael J. Fox is funny, and
and I think
that worked out
because that happened before famously in Apocalypse Now, wasn't it? Because wasn't it? Who was the actor before Martin Sheen?
Oh, right. Was it
the the really tough Marine. He was an ex-Marine, wasn't he? Harvey Keitel.
I was say Harvey Keitel, right? Yeah.
Harvey Keitel. They'd shot months of that with him, but they realized it because obviously a lot of it was voiceover, and you're just kind of looking at him on the boat. They realized that he didn't have any vulnerability about him. He was too tough. And so you can kind of see, like, sometimes it's just like the look of someone is just like Michael J. Fox is really laid back and kind of expressive. So you could see even just like without opening their mouth, like
it's just rare that people get fired from movies that deep in like that. They go on to be successful. Television pilots, you know, for television, that stuff happens, you know, fairly often. Somebody get cast in the pilot, they shoot the pilot, they don't think they're good, they recast the whole thing. You know that. Movies, that does not happen every day. But one other thing about around Back to the Future, this guy touched on, this non-Eric Stoltz, is that so Crispin Glover,
the dad.
The first thing I ever did was a short film for the American Film Institute that Crispin starred in, that Crispin still to this day says is the best thing he's ever done. And they made 3 of them. One was Sean Penn, one with him, one with somebody else. And now they sell the whole package called the Beaver Trilogy. It's about this filmmaker that like commits suicide or something, right? So my scene, all I know is in my scene, I got the long hair, like I got long hair again now because I'm rocking, but it's been a while. And it was like, you know, you're smoking in the bathroom, and this kid comes out of the bathroom and like, you know, okay, let's rehearse. So we start seeing this other guy smoking in the bedroom, blah, blah. Door opens, and it's Crispin Glover, I shit you not, dressed like Olivia Newton-John in the black outfit at the end of the with the wig, the whole fucking thing, dude. And it's you know, Crispin. Hey guys, what's going on? I don't know what you're doing. You know, like, and I'm watching this guy going, wow, this outfit thing's insane, but this fucking actor like is amazing. Like his inner dialogue and all, it's just like this guy's killer, you know. So we do the scene and end up keeping it. Remember, I bump into him like on the premiere of one of my movies. He would ride his bike down Hollywood Boulevard and see every movie at the theaters. And he came and watched a movie with me and stuff. Kept us up with this. So it was cool when I got that movie because I knew him. You know, I had somebody to hang out with. And he came right to my trailer, and you know, his big thing was he would drive Zemeckis crazy because he'd always want to do another take, no matter how many takes he got. He'd be like, "Let me do another one. I can do it better." He'd be like, "It's fine, Crispin. No, I got this idea. No, Crispin, it's fine. We're moving on." Because the guy is just so creative, man. I mean, I think Crispin is so interesting to watch, and he makes such risky and weird choices. I fucking love him. So
it's exactly that. It's a risky and weird choices that he makes in that film when you watch it back with your kids. Because I just watched it back with my kids now, and you're just like, man, this guy's intense, isn't he? The dad, he's super intense.
And then one more thing you have to talk about that film, which I'm sure you have before, but you know, so he and I did years later a mini series called Texas Rising, which I was kind of surprised he got cast in a Western, but it was cool and it was a good part for him. He did great. But we, you know, had these like hour and a half drive or 2 hour to set every day. And somebody fucking brought it up. It wasn't me. Brought up the whole thing about what happened with him and his likeness, you know, them using the other actor in Back to the Future too. Yeah. And dude, he fucking went off. He's still pissed. And, you know, he made a lot of money. He won't tell us how much, but that dude got a settlement that was legit because he went after Universal. He went after Spielberg. He went after everybody. But it's amazing because he's still pissed off about it. Like he's still hurt by that and still felt they did him wrong, you know? And I think, you know, you talk about hurting somebody's career. I think him standing up to the studios and doing that and not allowing them to use his likeness like that took a lot of balls. And I think that probably hurt his career. I think that was a more intense, as equally intense thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, if you're going to, you know, make a mountain out of this, if you're really going to go for the studios and the studio heads, you're surely going to be blacklisted, surely, because they're like, okay, we'll pay this guy out, but he ain't going to work with us no more. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to...
Yeah. Yeah. But he made, like I said, I don't know how much he made, but he, I think he, like I said, he may not have worked as much as he would have liked to after that, but I think he got a little nest egg off of that deal. But it was pretty ballsy of them to just, instead, their thought was, well, he was asking for too much money for the sequel, so fuck him. We're just going to push him out and use a fake, and it costing him 10 times more, probably,
Yeah.
Bonkers. But the movie itself, Back to the Future, the movie itself, that has got some iconic performances in it. I mean, so many. I mean, Biff and his gang. You're part of Biff's
and
Bully
there's
Boy
Billy
gang.
Zane again. I told you, Billy Zane and I keep popping up together, and there we are. And JJ, who was in with the flat top, he and I did like 3 movies in a row. This is all my little '80s time with all the teenage actors. 6 Degrees. You could do 6 Degrees of Courtney Gains all day long, brother. Back then.
Yes, I mean, well,
and was JJ Cohen, and then who's the other guy? The other supporting cast, the bad guys.
Oh, I can't remember.
It'll pop up in a minute. Leighton will know it. It'll pop up in our little chat box.
Zane and JJ Cohen and he and I did like 3 movies together, and he had a run for a minute. It'll pop up hopefully. I can't believe I'm faking it.
Yeah, Leighton will come up with it.
We did Secret Admirer together. It'll come to me. I'm terrible with names and pressure.
Well, I'm just like, when you watch that movie back, there's so many like quotable acting roles in it, like Doc, Marty, Biff, all these guys. It's truly a brilliant film with some brilliant performances in it. But what it is,
nobody knew this little director named Robert Zemeckis back then, right? I guess.
Yeah. Who's that guy? What did he end up doing? But what it is as well, oh man,
Casey Shamaska, there it is.
Oh, thank God.
Casey Shamaska.
Casey Shamaska. It's a really easy watch. It's really like, it moves smoothly, but it's about time travel. And it's a really clever film about time travel. I mean, name me another film about time travel that doesn't have massive plot holes and isn't kind of shite. Most movies about time travel are like, oh, for God's sake, there's a huge, massive plot hole you can drive a truck through. You watch Back to the Future and you're just like, yeah, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's so clever.
I think they keep it simple though, right? They just go back to the 50s, at least the first time, right? They just put you in one world and leave you there.
Well, this is going to lead on to my next bit then, Courtney. Leading on to my next bit, which is Back to the Future 2, which I probably shouldn't talk about as your buddy got pushed out of it, but he made a lot of money, so it's fine.
No, it's all good. It's I just thought it was an interesting piece of trivia if you didn't really know about that.
It's a really good piece of trivia. Back to the Future 2, and I'm going to trigger a whole bunch of people by saying this, is the most underrated science fiction film of all time.
That's what
Come at me.
Bold statement.
Come at me. That is such a clever film. And when I first watched it, I was probably, whatever it was, 14. I thought, what's this bollocks? I've no idea what's going on. Then I watched it with my son. I was like, this is the cleverest film I've seen.
Now the 2 actresses are different in that though, right?
Is that Leah Thompson? Is she?
No, Leah Thompson. No, the girlfriend. Marty's
girlfriend's different. Yeah.
Right. The first one is
Claudia Wells.
Claudia Wells is the first one or the second one? Claudia Wells is the first one? And then who's the second one is first. Okay, who's the second one?
Leighton, you can feel Leighton's little Jennifer.
Yeah. I ended up working
a minute or two.
I worked with her on a show called Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
That was during the Olympics, I remember. It's like a mini series. And I know Claudia from like conventions. She's really fun.
Wow.
That's a weird trivia thing. I mean, that's a weird thing too. Like, why did she get replaced? Like, I never understood the why of that.
Was maybe it was just, was it availability? I mean, because she's a kind of a core member of the cast, though. You would have thought.
I was gonna say, you better make yourself available for that, man. So I don't know. I never asked her straight up.
Our thing that says wait.
I can't believe you can't find. Yeah, I mean, she went on. Yeah, Elizabeth Shue. There you go. Oh. Yes, Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, she went on to do all right for herself, you know.
Oh, we were all in love with Elizabeth Shue. And Leah Thompson as well. Although a bit weird, that Howard the Duck movie was a bit strange.
I've worked with Leah twice. Now, I did a. She was on that series with most of the kids were deaf on it. Or the Switched at Birth, and I I played a guy that was her husband's friend who was a baseball player, and he thought they were going there to do like a, wife swapping kind of deal, because that was the kind of guy so that's twice I've hit on Leah Thompson.
Any success? No, just no.
No success either way. Shoot, whiff twice. Shoot. Maybe the third time I'll score.
Third swing, yeah. I think I saw her in Cobra Kai. So
yeah.
Burbs with Carrie Fisher, teen idol. It just says. Okay. Yeah. Tell us about the Burbs
chat stuff. I can't see the chat. So except the one that your guy puts on.
Yeah.
But what, you want to talk Burbs? We want to jump to Burbs?
I want to talk the Burbs first. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's I mean, the big challenge for me about that role was when I looked around, all I saw was heroes, right? I mean, you got Tom Hanks, you got Carrie Fisher. I mean, freaking, you grew up on, as a kid on Star Wars, but Bruce Dern's like one of my all-time faves, man. So, I'm a huge Bruce Dern fan. I think he's off the chain good, man. And his mind is like he comes up with stuff. Like he's what do they call it? There's a name for it in acting where it's called stream of consciousness, where you just literally verbalize what you're seeing, blah, blah, blah. That's what he does when he acts. He just makes comment, whatever the fucking shit and he can just do it. The line like, "Hey, Pinocchio, where are you going?" Like that was an ad lib. It's a great ad lib. People still say it to me, but he calls what he sees. I did another movie with him called Hellblazer a couple of years ago that I was so glad I got to see him again and just tell him how appreciative I was, because he really took a shine to my work. And he would come to me and like, say, "I can see what you're doing. I know what you're doing." And he started like, I mean, he just really, really believed in what I was doing and gave me some great advice in my career and things like that. I wish I had been smart enough to keep in touch with him when I was young, because so it was great to get to see him again. And even then, the guy's like, I don't know what he is now, 70 something. He was just whooping my ass in the scene, just whooping my ass with his ability to just improv. And I couldn't keep up with him. I could not keep up with him. And he's, twice my age practically, you know what I mean? So
wow.
Not twice, that's an exaggeration, but his mind is still a steel trap, man.
He's 127.
That's right.
So I gotta ask about, do you have a good Jerry Seinfeld story or a good Larry David story?
Yeah, because you brought the Larry David.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And again, I don't mind saying whatever I'm gonna say. So a couple things I'm gonna say about Seinfeld. So number one, it is the classiest sitcom in terms of the way they ran it that I've ever seen, and I was happy to be part of it. Two things about that. One, you usually have this person called a warm-up person to keep the crowd laughing in between stuff, right? Some comedy guy. Well, Jerry Seinfeld does that himself.
No way.
Wow.
Yes way, and that takes it to a whole different level. Him interchanging with the crowd and stuff. It's just fantastic. Number two, they had a live band. Another way to keep people entertained in between segments. Never seen another place do that. So they shot it on 35, which most don't either. Cheers was the one who started that. So everything about that show was just like, done on such a high level. One other thing I just want to say about Jerry is when I was in the makeup room, I saw a bunch of pictures of Porsches, and particularly Porsche Speedsters, which I'm a fan of. And they were like, "Oh, Jerry's a big Porsche guy. You should talk to Jerry, blah, blah, blah." And so we talked a little bit, and I told him how much I dug Speedsters. The next day, he's like, "Hey, come on outside." And he has a place where he stores all his cars, so he had to go out of his way. He went and traded the one Porsche he had to bring me this beautiful Porsche Speedster that was this cream-colored blue I'd never seen before, with a tan interior, with wood. It was paneling. It was just fantastic. But I was just more blown away that he went out of his way to just do that.
Wow.
Most people wouldn't, okay? And most actors wouldn't. That's all I got to say about that.
Wow.
So I thought that was very cool. Now, my Larry David story.
Yes.
So number one, I mean,
you want to just come back every week?
You can be our warm-up guy, actually.
So Larry David's like, I didn't really know who he was, and he was like one of the producers on the show, right? So the first 3 days of rehearsing, he's not there. It's all Jerry putting it all together, right? And then Larry comes in. You do a table read in the beginning, and then Jerry does it for 3 days, and then Larry comes in the last day and does whatever he does to kind of batten down the hatches, and then on Friday you shoot or whatever, right? So, again, like I said, he wasn't Larry David like he is now. You know what I mean? I think his show's great, and I would love to work on that show. I love it's all improv. It sounds like it just be a blast. But how he is, right? He has this way of like, I don't know, I don't like this. So he starts like the lines I have. He starts questioning whether they're funny and stuff, you know, and I got to laugh in the table read. And my feeling about these things is when they usually try to change shit out of insecurity because it didn't get laughs the third time, they usually write something worse. It's never better. That's never been my experience. It's usually something worse. And I believed in the dialogue I had. I thought it was good, and I didn't want him to fuck with it. And I was just like, I'm like, I'll tell you what, let's do it live with an audience. If I get a laugh, then it's, you know, then we're good. And he just looked at me like, who the fuck are you? You know? and I just stuck by my guns. We did it. I got a fucking huge laugh. And I looked at him like, see, motherfucker? And you know, he's just like, who the hell do you think you are? You can see the Larry David look on his face. I mean, he was just like, you know, that Larry David way of like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But I'm glad I got to do the lines I did. And that show went on to be, the Smelly Car episodes like ranked up there in like one of the top 10 or something shows.
Yeah, that's a great
It just
episode.
blows me away that I'm even remotely associated with any good Seinfeld show. I mean, come on. But yeah, Larry David, like I didn't get along with the dude at all. So I'll just say that. But then again, you kind of think, who does, right? If you look at
exactly. Yeah.
I bump into Larry David every time I go to LA in a weird situation. The last time I was in, you'll know this place well. You know where the Vons is in Eagle Rock? It's by the Habit Burger. There's like a hamburger and a Vons.
Yeah.
He nearly ran me over. He nearly backed over me. And he was typical Larry David. He was in his car. He was talking really loudly on his phone to his agent about Billy Crystal. Yeah, Billy Crystal, something like that. And he just nearly ran me over. So I'm just doing like this doing the Curb Your Enthusiasm. Hey, motherfucker, banging on his car. And he's like totally panicking in there and shriveling and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I almost hit Eric Stoltz on his motorcycle once on Franklin.
Really?
See, it all circles back to Eric Stoltz.
I was going to say,
man.
you didn't have
he wanted to kill me. He was like,
Mike, you didn't have a Michael J. Fox mask on at the same time, did you?
There you go. That was all the way back, right?
All the way back. So we won't keep you too much longer, but we have this thing we do. We subhead our podcast, The Nearly Men, right? So anybody who comes on here has got a story. You don't have to, but we like them to tell a story of something that they could nearly have been. In your case, you've done almost everything, but like, could you nearly have been a professor of astrophysics, or were you nearly cast as Anne Frank, or you know, something out there that's a bit strange?
What casting wise? I mean, like I said, one of the ones that stuck out to me was Mask, right? We already talked about that. That was, and I think had I gotten that role, I think it would have launched me, man. So that's the one out of maybe the most one that got away. I would say was that I would have wanted probably. I don't really have quite what you're looking for, but I tell you, if I was set up to go to college and all that, and then I got shot in the corn and I never went back, I would have been, if you'd not been an actor, what would you have been? I would have studied child psychology. That's what I would have done.
Huh.
Oh. Yeah, I think that I mean, what I loved about method acting and studying acting and such was, to me, it's just, to me, what's interesting about acting is you get a chance to walk in somebody else's shoes, right? You get a chance to have somebody else's experience, which very few people ever are allowed that opportunity. And you come out of it different. I believe if you really get into it, you learn to look at somebody else's point of view, you may not totally agree with everything they do or don't do, but you have a certain level of compassion and sympathy you wouldn't have. At least I do. I'll just say that. But I love the psychology of it all. It's like, what makes people tick? That's what's, to me, interesting about acting is the psychology of what makes people tick, and trying to find those core things that define them. We all have these events in our lives that end up shaping kind of who we are and what we do, especially through our childhood and like that. So that's why I found childhood psychology, I guess, interesting, because it seems to me if somebody has a crisis in childhood of some sort that you could actually get in there and work with, you can maybe turn things, where that's not going to dominate their whole deal for the rest of their life,
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
That is
So last but not least, what's coming up in the future, music-wise? I want to talk about the music.
Oh, right. We didn't talk about the music at all, did we?
Yeah.
So on October 2nd, I have a record coming, an EP coming out, a 6-song EP called Safe Haven, and you can only get it on Fake Fang Records, fakefangrecordings.com, because I don't want to go through any of the other stuff, the iTunes or the Spotify's or any of that BS anymore. You can go on there, you can listen to the record 3 times. If you like it, you can buy a digi download of it, or you can buy a limited run of CDs, or you can buy an even limited run more of ones that are going to be signed by me. I think this week I'm not sure when you're airing this, but this week I think we're going to release a song called Look Out. Again, you can go to Fake Fangs and listen to, and if you like it, you can pre-order the record. If you pre-order the record, you can get a CD signed to you. That's the only way that's going to happen. So how about that for a pitch in 2 seconds, pal? How about that? But I'm excited about this thing in that some of these songs I've had for a long time. 3 of them were in this movie I did called Benny Bliss and the Disciples of Greatness. That was a rock and roll road comedy with an anti-technology event that I also produced. And we were supposed to put a record out, never happened. So there was those 3, and then 3 I wrote recently, and that thus made this record. And this one is really just kind of about calling bullshit about things that I think are bullshit. Like one of them is called Bills in Space, about the billionaire space race, which I just think is retarded. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd like these greater minds and rich dudes to do something on the planet, not try to figure out how to monetize going off the planet. You know,
in giant penis-shaped rockets. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
In the chorus, in the bridge, the actual says that the Blue Origins looks prophylactic. That's actually
nice.
In the bridge.
Nice.
Like that?
Yeah, I do like it. It's very good.
So the songs are some stuff I wrote in the past, or like my Acoustic Gains record, or my band Ripple Street. I put out an album in 2009, very breakup record, very personal. This is more of a storytelling and more of a pointing at things that I think are crazy. Like, because there's a song called The Healer that's told from the point of view of a plastic surgeon pitching a woman on what he can do for her. You know, stuff, crazy shit like that.
Sounds great. Well, Courtney, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, buddy. And we'll let you get back to your mandolin lessons.
Thank you. I need it. Well, by the way, though, if you want to find out what's going on with the band, Courtney Gains Group, you can find us on Facebook, and that's your way to find it, because we're definitely going to be touring a bit and stuff to promote the record in next year. So the band's a working band already. We've been working for about 9 months doing Southeast, but we're going to hit the road next year. So Courtney Gains Group, you can find us.
Good man. Yeah. Good man. Thank you so much. All right, Courtney. Well, if you jump off now, we'll just round up and catch our breath. Thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you, Courtney. Thanks for coming on.
Podcast comes out this week. Soon. We'll be plugging your stuff.
I'll take it easy.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks, mate. Everybody catch their breath?
Wow, that was incredible. I mean, what an interesting guy. The guy is just flat out. I mean, if anyone's listening, like, you know, he's been acting a long time, and he's obviously been a musician for a long time. The guy's done a lot of work. I mean, he's a quality job, you know. I mean, it's not in a poor way you call him a jobbing actor, but he's
journeyman, yeah.
A journeyman, but he's I mean, that was incredible, wasn't it? I mean, he's done some fantastic things. He's almost like, it seemed like when I was listening to him, it's like, this guy must be like Hollywood royalty. No wonder he's moved out of Hollywood, because he won't be able to get down the street without bumping into 10 guys or people he's worked with before and having conversations. And do you know what I mean? When you've been doing it for that long, it's great.
Children of the Corn to Back to the Future and all this. People must be like, Burbs, Back to the Future, Children of the Corn. Yeah, it must be mad. Yeah. What a cool guy. That was fantastic.
Yeah, what a cool dude. Yeah. And yeah, Courtney Gains Band on Facebook for anyone who wants to check out his music. I'm sure it's going to be pretty damn good as well.
Yeah. Let's do
we have some Patreons, because you've been skirting your Patreon readout duties.
Okay, hang on a second. Okay.
So we
I will do it. I will do it. We've got quite a list here.
You do.
All right. So we have.
Who goes first?
I'll go first. He's flipping me off, for those of you. Our first patron, thank you very much for supporting us, is Selena.
Really? That's not what I've got first.
You haven't got that first? Oh
no, I've got Heather Bradley.
Oh man, maybe I'm on the wrong thing. I'm in my chats here.
Yeah, get on the chats. Yeah.
Okay, maybe. Oh, you know what it is?
You have to scroll down.
I have to go scroll up. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Right, Heather Bradley. Oh,
yeah, Heather Bradley. Doug. Welcome. Thank you so much. Over to you for the second one.
Thanks, Dougie. I'm going to go with Geir Morten Sorensen, and I apologize if I've mispronounced your first name, but I'm pretty sure Morten Sorensen, the second bit, is correct.
Yeah, Guillaume Morten Sorensen, thank you very much for becoming a patron. We really appreciate it. Andrew Cogley, welcome and thank you for being a patron. We are very, very grateful.
Yeah,
we have
I can go back to Selena, who apparently
Selena.
just goes by one name, very Cher and Madonna. Very
that
cool.
is actually. Welcome, Selena. Stephanie Morel or Morel. I guess it's Morel, I guess. Double L. Welcome, Stephanie. Thanks so much for coming to Patreon. We really, really appreciate it.
We most certainly do. And then I'm going to say thank you very much to Tori Wise, which is really cool. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon and having a really easy name to pronounce.
Yeah, thank you, Tori Wise. Now, next one, Dorna Eichhoff.
Oh, very good, Doug.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Dorna Eichhoff. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Welcome. Thank you very much for being a patron. Over to you for the next one.
Thank you very much. We'd also like to say thank you very much to Mike Kenahan. Thank you very much for becoming a Patreon, Mike. And also thanks, having Mike. An easy name to pronounce.
Okay. Christina Dominic.
Yes. But yes, we know Christine already. I think Christine she's
Dominic. Yeah, welcome, Christine. Thank you for becoming a patron. This one's the one specially for you, Matthew, which is quite.
And I will say it with ease because I want to thank you very much for becoming a Patreon. I don't know what's happened to my throat. You might have to take over. Okay, Heidi Mosgard Lebeck or Heidi Mosgard Lebeck.
Welcome, Heidi. That. Thank you so much. So did we pronounce that right, by the way? If we don't pronounce any of these names right, please get in touch and let us know. Maeve Ellen Luthen, is that right?
Pretty good. Yeah, Maeve. I think it's Maeve. Yeah,
Maeve Ellen Luthen. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Really appreciate it.
I think that might be the end of the list for now.
There's still more.
Oh my goodness, it's been a bumper crop.
It has.
Cami Plakin, thank you very much for becoming a Patreon. I'm pretty sure I got that one right as well. This is an interesting one for you, Dougie.
Yes, Sobster 001. It's obviously a
secret agent.
Yes, obviously a secret agent. So thank you for joining us, Sobster 001. Don't break your cover.
Yes, exactly. Come in.
Yeah. And then two more.
Ashley Kennedy. We've got Ashley Kennedy. Thank you very much, Ashley Kennedy.
Thank you, Ashley. And the final one, Jonathan Montgomery. Thanks so much for becoming a patron. We really appreciate it. Without all these lovely patrons, which we've had a bumper crop while we've been off air, it seems. So it's almost like they're paying us to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't come back.
Sorry, silence. But we're back.
Yeah.
But
watch it taper off now.
Thanks for joining because it really, really helps with producing the podcast and also promoting it and doing all the other things that we've got coming up as well. So without the patrons, we wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. So really, really grateful. Thanks for supporting us. It's really cool stuff. Thank you.
Brilliant. And we will sign off and we will be back next week. Next week we have Ben Main on, who we have had on before. It might just have been me back in the day.
I think it was.
We've got some cool stuff coming up with Ben Main, and he's got a book coming out. So I said he could come on and plug it, but he's going to be integral part of some of the stuff we've got coming up, particularly next year. And he's a really cool guy. So we'll get him on. And we will see you then. Thank you so much for listening, and we're signing off for this week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. See you next week.